Why do you experience the same problems in every relationship? Why do you feel the same disappointment in every job? Why do you get stuck at the same point in every goal? Coincidence? Fate? Bad luck? No. Unconscious repetition. Your brain is repeating the path it knows, because it's afraid of the path it doesn't know, and you keep spinning in the same cycle, without seeing the exit. When you make the same mistake one more time, I know what you tell yourself. How did I do it again? How could I be this stupid? Why can't I learn? But here's where the problem begins. Because you are learning. You're just learning the wrong thing. And what I'm going to show you today is this. Making the same mistakes repeatedly isn't weakness. It's a natural consequence of how your brain works. And if you understand how your brain works, you can break the cycle. Because the problem isn't that your willpower is weak. The problem is that your unconscious programs are stronger than your willpower. Let's begin. Here's what most people don't understand. Making the same mistake repeatedly doesn't happen randomly. There's a system, there's a cycle, and that cycle is operating in a place you're not aware of. Think for a moment. You enter a relationship. At first, everything is wonderful, but over time, the same problems emerge, the same arguments, the same disappointments, the same reasons for breaking up. You enter the next relationship. You say, this time will be different. You say, this time I've learned. But what happens? Same movie, different actors. Same script, different setting. Or you start a business. At first you're enthusiastic, but over time the same problems emerge. Organization issues, motivation drop, difficulty finishing. You start another project. You say, this time I'll succeed. But what happens? You get stuck at the same point again. This isn't coincidence. This is a cycle. And that cycle has a reason. Because your brain is a learning machine. But what it learns isn't always the right thing. Sometimes the things your brain learned to survive are obstacles to living your life better. This is where unconscious repetition comes into play. Now I'm going to tell you the most important principle in neurobiology. The brain loves to conserve energy. Think about it. Your brain takes up 2% of your body but uses 20% of your energy. Massive energy consumption. And that's why the brain has a strategy. Think as little as possible. How does it do this? Automation, habit, repetition. When you first learned to drive a car, what happened? Everything seemed difficult. Gas, brake, gear, mirror, road, everything required conscious thought. And you got very tired. But now, do you think when you drive? No, automatic. Your brain runs this skill in the background. This happens through neural pathways. Every time you repeat a behavior, a path opens between neurons in your brain. At first, this path is weak, but as you repeat it, it gets stronger. And after a while, that path becomes so strong that your brain automatically uses that path. This is a great system because it makes your daily life easier. Brushing your teeth, walking, talking, these are all automatic. But here's the problem. Just as the brain automates good behaviors, it also automates bad behaviors. What do you do when a problem arises in a relationship? You shut down. You blame. You run away. The first time it might have been conscious. But as you repeated it, that reaction became automatic. Now, when a problem arises, your brain automatically uses that path, and you give the same reaction without even being aware of it. What do you do when you set a goal? You get excited, you plan. But when it gets difficult, you procrastinate. The first time it might have been a conscious choice. But as you repeated it, procrastination became automatic. Now, when difficulty comes, your brain automatically goes into procrastination mode. And this is where you make the same mistake again, because your brain knows the old path. And the old path is the path that uses the least energy. Now let's go to a deeper truth. Most of your behaviors aren't conscious. Research shows that 95% of your daily behaviors are unconscious. Yes, 95%. You're consciously controlling only 5%. So when you say, "Today I'll be different," your conscious mind is saying this. But your unconscious mind continues running the old programs. And the unconscious mind is much more powerful. Think for a moment. What did you learn as a child? What happened when there was a problem? Did they comfort you, or did they say, "Don't cry, be strong"? What happened when you made a mistake? Did they support you, or did they criticize you? These experiences created unconscious programs. When there's a problem, don't show it. When you make a mistake, feel shame. Don't show weakness. And now, you're an adult. But those programs are still running. When there's a problem, you automatically shut down. When you make a mistake, you automatically blame yourself. And you're not even aware of this, because these are in the unconscious. That's why saying, "I won't do it again," isn't enough. Because it's your conscious mind making the promise. But it's your unconscious mind performing the behavior. And the unconscious mind doesn't listen to words. The unconscious mind wants proof. Now let's go into a more sensitive topic, trauma. Maybe you don't have a big trauma. Maybe no one hurt you, no one abandoned you, but there are small traumas. A word you heard as a child, a rejection you experienced as a teenager, a disappointment you received in your 20s. These traumas left marks in your brain, and your brain developed a defense mechanism. I won't experience this pain again. But here's the paradox. The defense mechanism you developed to not experience that pain is actually causing you to experience that pain again. For example, someone left you. You suffered. Your brain learned intimacy is dangerous. And now when you enter a relationship, you automatically keep distance. You build walls. You go on defense. The result? The relationship doesn't work, and you get abandoned again. And your brain learns, see, intimacy is dangerous. And the cycle gets stronger. In psychology, this is called repetition compulsion. Freud discovered this. People re-experience unresolved traumas because the unconscious mind is trying to resolve that trauma. But it can't, because it's approaching with the same methods and getting the same result. That's why you're attracted to the same type of people. You enter the same type of dynamics, because your unconscious mind is saying, maybe this time will be different, maybe this time it'll be resolved. But it won't, until you become aware of the cycle and break it. Now let's get to the solution. How do you break the cycle? First step, awareness. What you can't change is what you're not aware of. If a behavior is unconscious, you can't control it. But the moment you become aware, the power shifts. The unconscious becomes conscious, and what's conscious can be changed. So how do you become aware? Here's a simple exercise. Be an observer. The next time you make the same mistake, stop. Don't judge yourself. Just observe. What happened? What situation triggered it? What did I feel? What did I think? What did I do? Ask these questions and write the answers, because writing makes it conscious. And do this every time, every mistake repetition, every sabotage moment, every old reaction moment. And over time, you'll see a pattern. You'll see a cycle. And the moment you see that cycle, you're no longer its prisoner. Because awareness breaks the automatic cycle. You're no longer giving an unconscious reaction. You can say stop, and you can make a different choice. Second step, interruption. To break the old path, you need to do something new. But you need to do it when the old trigger comes. For example, when a problem occurs, you automatically shut down. So, what will you do next time? When the problem comes, before you shut down, stop. Take a deep breath. And ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Do I want to run away? Why? This question creates an interruption. It stops the automatic reaction. And it opens up a space of choice for you. Maybe you'll shut down again. But this time, you'll consciously shut down. And what's conscious can change over time. Or when you procrastinate. Next time before procrastinating, stop. And ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Am I scared? Does it feel overwhelming? Why? These questions make you conscious. And when you're conscious, you can make a different choice. Maybe you'll still procrastinate, but this time you can do 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. And those 5 minutes open a new neural path. And each time, that path gets a little stronger. Third step, new path. Breaking the old path isn't enough. You need to build a new path. Because the brain doesn't like emptiness. If you erase the old path, the brain panics. It says, "What will I do?" But if you give it a new path, the brain uses it. So how do you do it? With small steps. With repetition. For example, instead of shutting down when there's a problem, you want to share. So how do you do this? You can't suddenly say, "I'm going to share everything now." Because your brain doesn't know that path. It will resist. But you can take a small step. Today, I'm feeling something. And I'm going to say it in just one sentence. One sentence. Just one sentence. I'm tired today. That's it. Not a big explanation. An emotion share, and repeat this. Every day. Little by little. And over time, that path will strengthen, and sharing will become automatic. Or procrastination. If you want to start instead of procrastinating, you can't suddenly say, "I'll never procrastinate again." But you can take a small step. Today I'll just do 5 minutes, then I'll stop. 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. And repeat this. Every day. Same time, same duration. And over time, your brain will strengthen that path. And starting will come easier. Because there's something called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change. Old paths can weaken, new paths can strengthen. But this doesn't happen overnight. It requires repetition. It requires patience. It requires consistency. Now I must tell you one more truth. The old path doesn't go away easily, because that path has been strengthened for years. Maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, maybe 30 years. That path is like a highway. Wide, strong, fast. And the new path? It's still a trail, weak, narrow, slow. And do you know what the brain does under stress? It goes back to the highway. Because it's safe. Because it's known. That's why you make the same mistakes in difficult times. Because your brain returns to the old path. But this is normal. This isn't failure. This is part of the process. What matters is what you do when you go back. If you say, "I failed again, I can't change," the cycle continues. But if you say, "Okay, I went back to the old path, but now I'm returning to the new path continues to strengthen. Because change isn't linear. Change is wavy. Sometimes you go forward, sometimes you go back. But the general direction should be forward. And over time, the new path gets stronger. And one day, the new path becomes the highway. And the old path becomes the trail. And that day, you're no longer making the same mistake. Because your brain knows the new path. And here's one last thing I must say. Don't be harsh on yourself. Most people blame themselves when they make the same mistake. "I'm stupid. I can't change. I always fail." But this strengthens the cycle. Because when you blame yourself, stress hormones rise. And when stress hormones rise, the brain returns to the old path even more. But when you're compassionate with yourself, something else happens. The brain relaxes. "Okay, I made a mistake. It's normal because I'm human. What can I learn now?" And this question opens learning mode. It closes defense mode. Research shows that people who are compassionate with themselves change faster. Because they learn from their mistakes. They don't drown in their mistakes. I want you to do the same thing. See the mistake. But don't judge yourself. Learn and continue. Because every mistake is a learning opportunity. Every repetition is an awareness opportunity. And every awareness is a change opportunity. Now let's go back to the beginning. Why do you keep making the same mistakes? Because your brain knows the old path, and the old path is strong, and you're unconsciously using that path. But this isn't your destiny. This is how your brain works. And your brain can learn, your brain can change. Only 3 things are needed. 1. Awareness, see the cycle. 2. Interruption, stop the automatic reaction. 3. New path, build alternative behavior, and patience, and compassion, and repetition. Tomorrow, when you make a mistake, stop. Don't blame yourself. Just observe. What happened? Why did it happen? What did I feel? And then, ask yourself, what can I do next time? Find an answer, a small answer, and try it. And repeat, every time, a little better, a little more conscious, and over time the cycle will break, the new path will strengthen, and you'll be a different person. Because making the same mistakes repeatedly isn't weakness, but continuing to make them is a choice. And you can make a different choice. If this video made you feel something, don't forget to subscribe. Because what I share here isn't quick fixes. It's deep understanding. Neuroscience, psychology, and real change. Your cycle isn't your destiny. Break it.